kawaida, sivyo? Sivyo? Wakati Jubilee waliingia kwa serikali, walisema watapunguza gharama ya maisha. Wamepunguza? Wamepunguza?
Ati walilima eka milioni 1 huko Galana. Hatujui hiyo mahindi ilienda wapi. Na juzi imetokea Mombasa. Na wanatumia pesa ya serikali ati kwenda subsidize. Kazi yao ni kupora mali ya wananchi.
All right, political sentiments. They are all part of Kivumbi 2017, a brand new political flagship show here at KTN News, where we look at the big issues that are framing this election that is now just about 77 days away. And before the break, we were speaking about Galana Kulalu, that mega project. It was supposed to be that would have sorted out some of the problems we are talking about, at least according to the initial projections that the country was given. And just before the break, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about this irrigation project. And Beatrice, Kajwang and his friends are saying that this is a good reason, among many other things, to get rid of the Jubilee administration and try something else.
Well, first of all, I just want to go back. I remember him saying very well that it is unfortunate that we are thinking we cannot plant maize in Tana River. And I think it's not just Tana River. The country is different and the soils are different. So first of all, we must agree that...
I think the question was, didn't someone know that? I mean, there was pre-feasibility study.
And I think that is why they were trying, and they have gotten the results. I think they know what type of maize now you can plant there. It's not all lost. So I think just the way we plant Katumanu in Ukambani...
Some would say that was a very expensive experiment.
For me, I would want...
$1 billion experiment.
I would want the policy, those who had the policy, to come and defend themselves. It will be wrong for me to come in and say whether...
Are you not disappointed in the government because of this?
No, because first of all, the consultant himself came out and gave reasons. Number two, the government has explained itself. I know Moses and I are in Parliament, and therefore, and he's in the Agricultural Committee. I haven't seen him petitioning and saying that Gulana, it's Kenyan taxpayers' money on these reasons. And yet he is part of the Agricultural Committee that needs to be speaking loudly and telling Kenyans this is where the government went wrong. So if we come here without facts, I think it will be unfair on
Senator
that.
Joe, issues of financial impropriety and poor use of public resources are addressed by the Public Accounts Committee of both houses.
And I haven't heard also from the Accounts Committee. It's not the sectoral committee. What we come in to assess is the impact. Is the project having the desired impact? If there is corruption, and when Senator Ilachi asks why we have not asked questions, it makes me believe that there are certain fishy things that someone ought to have asked. No.
It's just that she's challenging me why I haven't asked them.
Good.
I know they will be unearthed by the Public Accounts Committee because there has to be value for money for every single cent that is invested.
Well, I think why you sit in a committee.
If you just calibrate the sense of morality, even if I was in government, I would be disappointed.
So you're saying there are things you've seen there, and you said, well, that's not for us, that's for the public.
I was about to ask. I mean, if you are there
that's not the approach. No, there are two things. What many Kenyans are concerned about is a financial impropriety involved in Galana Kulalu. Then there's
is that the only concern? I mean,
then there's the issue of the impact analysis. There's been absolutely, you've talked about 70,000 bags of maize out of an investment of billions. This is theft. This is corruption. These are issues that should be flagged by the Public Accounts Committee, and we are waiting for the Auditor General to bring these things so that we deal with them. This is outright theft, which is leading to the death of many Kenyans.
I want my senator today to face Kenyans because agricultural is devolved. We cannot wait for the for the Auditor General to bring us a report. And yet our work is just very simple as a committee. You feel this is not going right, it is your right to go to Gulana, check what is happening there. You will go with media and come out with a clear report. Even before the Auditor General brings, you can come out and say, as a country, we are about to face this. because our committee that deals strategically with agricultural in this country feels the government has not done this right. That's why we are parliament. That's why we are legislative arm, that we are not supposed to follow what the executive is doing, but to help the executive and point out what we feel is not going right.
Joe,
so
I
if
think
for 1 year,
this.
the Agricultural Committee in Senate has never brought us a report to tell us these are the challenges we are facing. When I look at the National Assembly also, they have never brought out a report to tell Kenyans, we had a project, this is where we arrived, these are the challenges we faced, and again we are waiting for the Auditor General. Then that is why our country every day will face these challenges.
We are missing the point. I think the point here is this.
Yes.
Are we getting value for money? Is Galana having the impact that is desired? We cannot sit here and tell
Her
Kenyans
contention is that you haven't raised that very
has
issue.
failed. That committee is chaired by her party leader, Kiraitu Murungi, so it will still go back to her. But that is the wrong approach towards this issue. You cannot say that because Parliament has failed to raise questions, we should not be asking the national government. It is a national government that has got the mandate to execute. And again, in our bicameral system, Galana was a national government project. The Agriculture Committee in the National Assembly has taken the lead role. Whenever we raise questions on Galana, we are told that Senate deal with issues and funds that have been allocated to county governments. That is a kind of intransigence that we are getting from the National Assembly. But the blame must get out of Parliament, and the blame must go back squarely to the Jubilee administration that collects taxes, that is given a budget to implement, and their failure to implement should not be then tossed to Parliament, and we are told, why hasn't Parliament asked questions? If Parliament has to ask questions, then probably Senator knows that there are some fishy and stinky things within Galana that Parliament should have asked, and maybe she should own up and tell us what these stinky things are.
I want to own up as Parliament that it is us who do the budgets for this country, Parliament. That's how we gave ourselves these powers. So when it comes now to our role in terms of overseeing, in terms of monitoring, in terms of ensuring we are the whistleblowers to the country based on the executive, there is no way now we bring in our politics of now this is the minority. Because in the committees, we have Kiraitu Murungi, but we also have the deputy who is also from the minority side. And what does that bring us to, Joe? It tells us in Parliament we work as parliamentarians. In Parliament, within a bicameral house, and what we agreed in the new dispensation is that Parliament has very, very, very huge powers to ensure a country can also be run. We run the country. Parliament runs this country. Because if today we say that we are not going to give the Agricultural Committee the amount they need in their budget, Parliament can do that. Parliament can reallocate resources from one level to another. So for me, what I want us to agree as a country, that both houses, the executive, the legislative, have failed the country. And that's why we are in such a mess, because even if we are pointing now fingers to the executive, the report will come to Parliament for us to discuss. It is in Parliament where we will now give results or resolutions.
So the buck doesn't stop.
It doesn't
with
stop
the executive,
only with the executive. It stops also with
Senator
Parliament.
Kajwang.
We are in a presidential system. Surely we must go back and ask ourselves, what is our understanding of the word execution? That's why we have an executive that executes. That's why we, Senator and I, we're in the legislature. We write the laws, and then the executive executes, and then we oversight thereafter. So you cannot say that because the executive has failed to execute, then Parliament takes the blame. The reality is that the government that has got the mandate to execute is a Jubilee administration. And that is why, Joe, we are keen on making sure that Kenyans, the short experiment Kenyans have had with suffering, I've just seen inflation has risen to 11-point-something%. We are going into double digit on inflation. The national debt is rising. That experiment has been extremely painful. And you know, Kenyans, and you've seen people are voting that they'd rather keep their ugali and they've leave the nyama, because they say, wow, nakula nyama, sisi tunameza mate. They are saying, you can keep the meat, just give us ugali.
You know, one thing I always admire about Moses and his team is the way we bring in propaganda and we expect Kenyans can believe everything that you say. Okay, now, one of the things that Kenyans cannot believe, and I'll tell you for free, is where we sit here on national TV and we are telling Kenyans we have a solution which for the last 4 years, they have been the alternative. They have never even brought a blueprint to say, while we say this, we are able to tell you in the next 90 days, which I'm wondering how in 90 days you are able to change and ensure sugar goes down without a blueprint and telling us how it will work. Unga will go down. Kenyans would wish all of us as politicians are able to tell them we have a short term which the government has given now. Our long term must be this. And I'm hoping also Jubilee should be telling the country what is our long term in the challenges we are facing going forward. Because these are just short term. And whether you come in
okay,
100
I will
days,
come, I will
you
come
cannot
to, I will come to the
that.
long term bit, because remember I said that Kajwang and his friends say that you don't have that long term, that they actually think this is reason enough for Kenyans to try a different government. But we'll come to that in a moment. Let me go now to my colleagues Zinze Kibiku and Hassan Juma, because all evening they've been following the conversations on social media, and the question we've been asking this evening is, what is that thing that you would sacrifice in the face of the rising cost of living? The same poll that Lofty Matambo was conducting on the street, we've been conducting it on social media as well. And right now we just want to go to Zinzi and Hassan. Over to you.
Naam, asante sana Joageo, bado tunafuatilia tu mdahalo huu kupitia kwa mitandao ya kijamii. Zinzi, watu wanasemaje katika mitandao ya kijamii hapo?
Well, first of all, before we can even give you the poll results, let's just read some of the tweets that have been coming through in regards to what we've been asking. And that was, what did you have to sacrifice with the high cost of living that we've been seeing? These were just some of the tweets that we took earlier. All right, sugar, that's what Kiptu has had to sacrifice with the high cost of living. Let's just take a look at some of the other tweets very quickly as we wind it up. This is one very powerful that one of you actually sent us. Hassan?
Still waiting for unga to be 90 shillings. Just bought one at 160 shillings at Samrat supermarket.
Wow.
Na receipt yake.
And let me tell you something. This Patrick has a point, Hassan. You take a look at maize flour, sifted maize flour, yes. 2 kg. In 2016, last year, 103 Kenyan shillings is what you were paying for. Today, this April of 2017, that was at 135. But even after the government has imported this maize from Mexico and saying that we are going to reduce the price to 90, throughout the course of the week, very many people are just like Patrick. Why are we not seeing it within our shelves, okay? For Roxy, you say, I just can't live without sugar.
Hata ifike 1,000 bob.
A kg. For her, she's like, no. Sugar never.
Heri maziwa nini lakini sukari.
Sugar, Like I told you, I can also not live without sugar. For me, because of black tea and I like turungi, mine has to, I feel her. I feel her, all right?
Amakanji Thomas, I would love to see what President Uhuru and William Ruto have sacrificed.
There you go. Very good question. He paints it out for us. What is it that Uhuru and Deputy President William Ruto have had to sacrifice? All right, before we take a look at a funny video that one of you actually sent in, let's finish off with this one.
I will sacrifice milk and sugar. Afadhali nikule ugali asubuhi na mchana. Government has failed us. Where is Galana?
We talked about it, huh? True. Galana project. It was supposed to be one of the biggest things. Now, this last one is the one that really caught my eye. I ate all. My sacrifice is taking them in smaller portions. Chai kidogo, lunch nusu, sapa kwata. Oh my goodness. Oh, he calls himself Pepper Boy Rocks. We feel you. We feel you. Chai kidogo, lunch nusu, soup, sapa kwata. That's how bad it is. So Hassan, before we can give our audience the Twitter poll question, let's take a look at this funny video that was sent by, or rather tweeted to us by none other than David Musili online, because we were asking, guys, what do my videos?
Tuma na sisi tutazipitia, au sio?
All right.
Zizi, do you know this guy?
Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. How can I not know him? I cannot know. You've got to know him. All right, so give us the results in regards to Twitter. What was happening online?
Guys, we asked you back at home, what have you sacrificed as food prices continue to rise? Unga, 17%, Zinzi.
17%.
17%.
Continue.
Vegetables, 5%. Milk, 45%.
45.
While sugar, it's 33%.
Now, let me just tell you, Hassan, those Twitter poll voting that we did online also reflect with what we were doing at Kencom earlier this evening, right? Because Lofty Matambo was there. Maziwa, you said for you it has the highest, right?
Yes, 45%.
All right. Over on my end, Maziwa, 29 people voted for it. Sukari, 20. Unga, 3. Skuma Wiki, 5. So you can tell that both polls, the ones that we were doing live from Kencom and the ones that we were asking our online audience, sort of correlate. You can tell that. You can see that. Yeah. Okay.
So, turudishe Joe, eh?
Exactly. From here on the online team in Kivumbi 2017, we've had an amazing 4 hours from 6 p.m. till 11 p.m. just making sure that we are looking at your tweets and your feedback from Facebook to Twitter and so forth. So let's keep this conversation happening every Monday evening, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, so right now...
At Hassan Juma?
At Hassan Juma and at Zinzi_K. Right now we want to hand over back to
Joe Ageo.
All right.
All right, thank you very much, Zinzi. I'm sure it is way past your bedtime. So thank you very much for being with us all evening. Zinzi Kibeko there and Hassan Juma, keeping us up to date with what's happening online. Remember, this is a conversation you can continue throughout the night and even tomorrow. Kivumbi 2017 is the hashtag that you need to use. And someone says that maybe those votes, 44% say they would give up milk and 33% sugar, that perhaps they should go to Bomas for some kind of confirmation of that tally. But thank you very much, lady and gentlemen. Let's come back here, and as we try to drive this home, I want to talk about your bill, which I don't seem to know what happened to it, because you've been speaking about it since 2014, if I recall, food security bill, and it proposes many interesting things, giving food to Kenyans who are unable to afford and that sort of thing, establishing a food security authority, puts in place the county food security committees and so on and so forth. It defines vulnerable people who need state help and that sort of thing. So are you proposing something that means that the government will be giving free food to some people?
No, it was not free food. When you look at, for example, Nairobi, and you find that we have areas like Kibera, Mathare, Korokosho, Kawangware, where we know we don't have land, and therefore people always will buy. And therefore our proposal at that time, which is still valid, is that we have food that will come from other areas. Government should ensure people who live in areas of Nairobi that are also vulnerable are able to get food, but food that is accessible and affordable. And when I talk of affordable, it's the same as when you're bringing your unga of 90. Don't forget we have even those who cannot afford the
But this bill hasn't passed, it collapsed somewhere in the National Assembly or something.
I wouldn't say it collapsed. What happened is the National Assembly started saying,
bill,
yes,
right?
They started saying it was a money bill.
The National Assembly
was
is
very
dominated
simple.
by members of your party, Senator Elachi.
Which was very simple. If they felt it was a money bill, and that's one thing we've always said, you can restart the bill from where the money bill you're talking about, as long as it is going to save the country. Because this was a bill where Nairobi University had worked on.
I understand that. My point is that both houses, as a matter of fact, are dominated by your party.
Yes.
And here you have a bill that you said will help Kenyans deal with high cost of living, and then it dies. Isn't that a problem to you?
It is a problem. And for me, it is not now a problem of government. It is a problem where now we bring in our egos, that one house wants to show the other house, we are the ones who deal with this. For me, and I kept on even telling the chairman, restart the bill, bring it back to the Senate as a money bill. We will pass it, because for us, it was not who is more superior than the other. For us, we wanted to see agricultural is devolved. How can the county governments have a structure, a framework to work around and ensure they can work with the national government.
Our time is fast spent. In 30 seconds, Senator Kajwang, what would your party do differently if it were in power in the situation we are in
we
today?
must look at this thing holistically, from farm to the plate. It is not for absence of policies and strategies.
Specifics.
Let me from farm to plate. From farm, let's address the production challenges. Distribution of fertilizer and seed. There is no reason why that should be done by the central government. It should be devolved. Let us look at distribution. We must review the issues of infrastructure in this country. There is something we call Kenya Rural Roads Authority that is controlled by the central government. Last mile infrastructure needs to be done by the county governments. When it comes to storage and warehousing, we need to activate the warehouse receipting systems bill. It is a bill that is lying somewhere in parliament. When it comes to value addition, we need to empower the county governments to implement agribusiness and agri-value addition projects. And that is why NASA says we must increase the funds that are allocated to county governments, because we know that agriculture is fully devolved. But more than that, we must go back to the Maputo Declaration and what later on followed, which was the Malabo Declaration, which was signed by President Uhuru Kenyatta in 2014. This declaration said that a national government must spend at least 10% of its budget on agriculture. The Agriculture Ministry was given less than 20 billion out of a 2 trillion budget.
Okay, Senator Kajwang.
Joe, when it comes to solutions, we are usually very much in a rush. But what I'm just trying to tell you...
I mean, you raise many issues that will require a whole show to debate, because many people even have a problem with giving more money to counties until you're able...
I was about to say that.
That is
ways
evidence,
of making
Joe.
sure that actually the money is not stolen.
The
Billions have been
evidence,
taken there since 2013,
that is evidence
and it's been stolen.
that we are not just talking. We are not just talking in rallies, but we've got solutions. If you contextualize this, and I hope one day we'll get an opportunity to look at the nitty-gritties of all these things, and even implementation of a bill. And Joe, let me tell you, Senator Ilachi is a very good person. I think she's just in the wrong party, because if a party was committed to making sure that the rights in Article 43 are fulfilled, they would have supported that bill without caring where it came from. And it's the same way they killed the Engineer Karue bill on potato marketing. You had very unnecessary comments from Aden Duale saying that Senate is busy talking about potatoes, and now we are in the throes of a food crisis.
You've run out of time to convince her to leave her party, because we really have to leave this here.
I don't want to talk about the party's solution, take home. The most important thing as a country, let us look at our production. Let us entice people to go back to farming, because we've run away from farming. We've decided borders and the rest are the best. But at the same time, let us bring back also the bill where we penalize you when you have land and you're not using it, and it is just seated there and you're there again asking for food.
All right. Thank you very much. Obviously, a conversation that cannot end tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Beatrice Elachi, Senator Moses Kajwang, thank you very much for coming to this inaugural edition of Kivumbi 2017 that we've been running from 6 p.m. up until now, which is just a little past 11. Finally, to take this home, some thoughts from my notebook. For the last couple of months, we have heard politicians screaming at the top of their voices. Those on the Jubilee side have not stopped singing praises to the government subsidy that has brought down the price of unga in some supermarkets and some retail shops. On the opposition side, the rallies have been full of high-sounding castigation of the government's move. And all across the country, food has become a hot political potato, or shall we say, political ugali. But the bottom line is that the politicians are generally not being honest with us. The Jubilee functionaries have not told us where the money is truly coming from. Already the government is steeped in huge debt of historic proportions. Most economists say that someone has to pay for this subsidy in the end, and that somebody could very well be you and me. The big question therefore is that subsidy going to the right people? Isn't a subsidy supposed to cushion only the most vulnerable in society? Why should it be available to everyone, including those with fat six-figure salaries? Or is this just a bait to net the vote on August 8th, and then we will suddenly be on our own again come August 9th? On the opposition side, it remains unclear, I beg your pardon, what the real alternative platform is. Food is a fundamental need, and the least Kenyans expect from a political grouping that says it is the government is waiting is a clear program of action. A blow-by-blow account of how they, NASA, would be different from Jubilee if they got the reins of power. Politics can be exciting, and politicians like to score points, even on the grimmest of situations. But this is about food. This is about life and death. Kenyans expect only solutions, not empty politics. And that is Kivumbi 2017 for this week. See you next week. Goodbye and good night. I'm Joe Agayo.